been sitting here for a long time. Faded paint, flat tires, the kind of car that to the untrained eye belongs in a junkyard. But to me, there's a story here, a story worth unraveling, and under this hood, potential. Pure, neglected potential. Welcome to the Silk Garage. Well, not very much of a garage for now. We're in my backyard, but I figured, we have to speak it into existence and manifest it. This is it. This $700 2004 Volvo S60R. One day, laying in bed, scrolling through Facebook Marketplace as car guys tend to do. If you're here, you get it. And I came across this listing and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I mean, truly, I find myself with another Volvo project car and let's see where it goes. By this point, in trying to diagnose the crank no start issue, I knew that I didn't have any fuel coming to the rail and the fuel pump wasn't priming when the key was turned, so I figured it would be best to start at the back where the fuel pump is located and remove the fuel pump entirely and try to test it with a power supply. And depending on whether or not it works, we go from there. Once I got the fuel pump cover off, I quickly came to realize that I was not going to be getting this fuel pump out without the special lock ring removal tool. I knew I had a long road ahead of me before I could get this car running again, so I didn't want to lose any momentum and decided to just overnight the removal tool. In the meantime, I could continue disassembling the rear seats to access both fuel pumps, as one transfers fuel to the engine and one transfers fuel from one side of the fuel tank to the other, as it is a saddle style fuel tank. With the lock ring removal tool having arrived, I could finally see what we were dealing with. I figured it would be best to make sure none of this dirt would contaminate the tank before I removed the old gas. Once I had the fuel pump out and on the bench, I could connect it to my power supply and see if it worked. After applying 12 volts and a couple of amps, sure enough, the fuel pump is perfectly functional. So from here, it was a matter of figuring out why we were still not getting fuel to the rail. And after reinstalling the fuel pump and making sure all connections were tight, and I could confidently say this was no longer a variable, I figured it was best to fill the tank with brand new fuel to make sure bad gas wasn't the cause of our no start condition. But by this point, I came to accept that the only way I was going to get this car running again would be to properly diagnose it. And the only way to do that would be to get my hands on Volvo's proprietary diagnostic software, which, if Volvo's attorneys out there watching this, I plead the fifth, I don't know what you're talking about. And after getting Vita all set up on my now designated Volvo laptop, our main issue to tackle at the moment was clear as day. The car's ECM, or engine control module, was not communicating with the rest of the car. So after finding a company called Zemodex all the way in Canada that specializes in repairing ECMs, I packed it all up, shipped it out, only to receive it back after an email stating that the ECM was all good and all tests had been passed with no faults. And now with both the ECM and BCM back in my hands, I could continue to diagnose why this car does not start. Now, you and I may both be asking the same question. If the ECM checks out, then why was it not responding in Vita? And truth be told, I genuinely don't know. My running theory right now is that this was just a case of the turn it off and turn it back on, because after I reinstalled everything, it was connecting just fine. And by this point in diagnosing the car, I figured it was time to check the engine's compression, which honestly is something I should have done at the very beginning, but this is new to me, so I apologize if I'm doing everything in the wrong order. I'm learning as I go here. And after removing all 5 spark plugs, which honestly did not look too bad given the car's mileage, it was time to connect the compression tester and see what we were working with. After plugging it in and cranking over the car a few times, I landed at about 60 psi across all 5 cylinders, which at the time, I didn't know what to make of it. I did know that this was well under spec, but I didn't know what it was indicating until later on. Another variable I really wanted to check off my list was the fuel filter. Now with the ECM connected and responding, I wanted to make sure this wasn't preventing fuel from reaching the injectors at a proper rate. So now with a very sketchy setup, to be able to jack the car up, I removed the fuel filter, and please use this as a reminder to wear safety goggles. I want to stress this yet again, please wear safety goggles. This was not a fun 15 minutes for me. And with a bruised ego and sore eyes, I've come back to conquer this fuel filter once and for all. Once everything was back in place, it was time to test fuel pressure at the rail. And after priming the fuel pump a few times, sure enough, we were in spec at a roughly 40 to 45 psi. Now we have fuel at the rail, I've checked for spark off camera, and the ECM is responding properly. Naturally, I think the logical next step is to check timing, which once again, if I knew what the hell I was doing, I would have done that at the very beginning, but I really am learning as I go, and I've learned so much by working on this car. Since this is a transversely mounted engine, in order to time it and access the crank bolt, I have to remove the front passenger wheel. With the engine now properly timed, I figured this would be the best opportunity to change the oil before I tried starting the engine again. With fresh oil in the car, everything was now in place. We have fuel, spark, and compression. I turned the key, and what happens next caught me completely off guard.